The Federal Aviation Administration is not assisting SpaceX in any way. The agency has not only delayed the process of Starbase conquering space, but has also delayed the ROI that Starbase would have generated by now. Stick around to find out more of what FAA is up to towards SpaceX this time around. Elon Musk and SpaceX is taking a big blow from the FAA right in the face. SpaceX Starship launch will be delayed yet again by the Federal Aviation Administration (FAA). What a wicked move! The FAA is opposing SpaceX and they're becoming a bone in SpaceX's throat. You could notice until Mr. Biden took over the White House, the FAA had no big issues with SpaceX. But just be on the watch, the Falcon 9 rocket will soon be a concern for the FAA. They may start looking for a T that wasn't crossed or an I that wasn't dotted during launch. Nobody could have imagined that after a lot of time, energy and money has been invested in creating multiple Starships and Raptor engines, SpaceX would not be able to send it into space due to the government's enforced policies. The FAA said that the deadline for completing its environmental evaluation of the launch site in Boca Chica, Texas, had been extended until March 28, meaning that the test flight would almost probably be postponed until April or later. It's unclear whether this will have an impact on SpaceX's ability to launch the 400-foot-tall two-stage rocket into orbit by the end of the year, but the company has yet to comment on the delay. The FAA assesses threats to public safety, national security or foreign policy concerns, insurance needs, and environmental impacts. According to the government, its environmental review does not guarantee that SpaceX will be awarded a launch vehicle operator license because the business must also meet any safety, risk, and financial responsibility criteria imposed on them. On February 11th, Musk presented his first big Starship update in more than 2 years while standing alongside the 400-feet rocket at SpaceX's Texas spaceport. And we all see the joy that was filled in his heart. He even expressed it when he said, "This is really some wild stuff here," he said. "In fact, hard to believe it's real." Starship will play a significant role in SpaceX's future, with plans to utilize it to build a colony and transporting equipment and people to Mars. For the meantime, NASA will deploy a modified version of Starship's upper stage to transport astronauts from lunar orbit to the surface of the Moon either before 2025. However, it will be the earliest missions that would deliver Musk's internet satellites, known as Starlinks, into orbit in batches of hundreds rather than the Falcon 9's current 60. Musk is unlikely to be startled by the month-long delay in the FAA report after declaring during the live stream that SpaceX had been given a rough indication that certification will be granted in March rather than February. The first orbital attempt is anticipated to take place shortly after clearance is given, since SpaceX has proved the capacity to quickly assemble the Starship system, which consists of the upper stage, also known as the Starship, and the Super Heavy rocket. And Musk already said that, "Right now, I believe we're on target to achieve regulatory permission and hardware readiness around the same time." The FAA ruling that a more extensive environmental impact assessment is necessary, perhaps against the largest risk for the launch in the coming months. This is a considerably more extensive and time-consuming evaluation of all elements of Starbase work, including the danger to species and our ecosystems. If the FAA orders an environmental assessment, the first test launch of Starship might be from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida from Pad 39A, and Musk is ever ready to take this route if the delay persists more than imagined. In fact, he made his thoughts well known when he said, "We actually are approved from an environmental standpoint to launch from 39A. So I guess our worst case scenario is that we would, I don't know, be delayed for 6 to 8 months to build up the Cape Launch Tower and launch from there," Musk said during the Starship update. Pad 39A is used by SpaceX for Falcon 9 launches, including the deployment of Crew Dragon capsules with humans on board for the International Space Station. But Starship is considerably higher and hence requires a bigger launch tower. That is why the Mechazilla launch tower is built in Starbase and also to enable usability, but the company has resorted to developing ocean launch pads made from repurposed deep-sea oil rigs in order to launch Starship from many sites across the globe. The first stage Starship, known as the Super Heavy rocket, is yet to blast off, but following a sequence of spectacular explosions, the futuristic bullet-shaped steel Starship, sitting on top and known as the second stage, successfully launched and landed on its own around May 2021. Musk thinks that once fully operational, each Starship launch will cost around $10 million, which is far less than the $1 billion per launch cost of NASA's new SLS mega rocket. And that's an improvement through sophisticated space technology. Even before testing is completed, Starship has private clients, including a Japanese businessman who has reserved a journey around the moon. Until recently, SpaceX has depended on its much smaller Falcon rockets to deliver satellites, astronauts, and cargo to NASA's International Space Station. There will most likely be a few hiccups along the way, but we aim to iron things out through satellite flights and test missions, Musk confidently stated. Last September, SpaceX sent its first crew into space on the Falcon 9, carrying billionaire businessman Jared Isaacman and 3 others on a 3-day orbital mission. Another flight to the space station is scheduled at the end of March, with 3 businessmen paying $55 million each. Isaacman has also chartered 3 further flights with SpaceX, with at least one of the 3 flights likely to be in Starship. Jared Isaacman, a billionaire internet entrepreneur, will journey deeper into space than any person has in the last 50 years when he joins SpaceX in orbit. Isaacman, who is worth an estimate of $1.79 billion, has amassed his fortune through the payment processing business Shift4 Payments. He is also a licensed pilot. Let's now look at how the FAA is getting increasingly dishonest. The FAA's examination of the Starbase location in South Texas was supposed to be finished on December 31st last year, but it was purposefully postponed until February 28th in a clever effort to delay the Starship's launch. The aforementioned review, which was slated to take place on February 28th, 2022, has now been rescheduled to March 28th. Can now confirm the delay we're talking about? That is truly unacceptable, since they're progressively draining the entire effort of the company. Now, imagine this fact. SpaceX pays every single person who works for the company, so if the FAA refused to give the Starship a go-ahead so that capable hands can pay millions of dollars to take a tour around low Earth orbit, how will SpaceX realize the funds invested in manufacturing so that the company can continue to operate? Or should we claim that the FAA is imposing these delays in order to force SpaceX to declare bankruptcy later? We can never tell. Consider this. If SpaceX was a company owned by the US government, do you think the FAA would interfere with its operations? Even if the FAA had to examine the company, would they have the capacity to frustrate the launch of the Starship into space up until now? These are thoughtful questions we should also consider. At this point, we should start encouraging Elon Musk to go into US politics and provide him with full support, so that he can easily get out of situations like this. It will be ideal if Elon Musk could get close to the US White House and perform some underground work there to release SpaceX from the FAA's restriction. If Elon Musk can be a politician as well as the CEO of his 2 companies, Tesla and SpaceX, he would undoubtedly outperform the cabals that have dominated US politics for years. As a result of his position in the US government, he'll be able to influence several operations in favor of his private companies. Consider that US President Joe Biden has not expressed or acknowledged the existence of Tesla or SpaceX in the US, nor has he stated anything about either Tesla or SpaceX operations in the US since he was sworn in as president. Could it be that Joe Biden and Elon Musk has once had a fuse in the past, like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, who had a misunderstanding at the same dinner table? We can't really draw any conclusions because the media has never reported on any disagreement between the US president and Elon Musk. But one of our lovely fans here at Tech SpaceX already suggested that Elon Musk should start his company in another country where he will be appreciated. The comment reads, "Find another more receptive country to open a starbase, one that will appreciate all the work and vision of SpaceX." That's a great suggestion anyways, but do you think that building a starbase in another country will be SpaceX's lasting solution to do without the FAA and finally launch the Starship into space? Or kindly suggest what you think will be the lasting solution to the delay faced by SpaceX in the comments below. SpaceX will really appreciate your contribution. Be sure to check your favorite SpaceX video here.